What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel, ZBC Racing. We're going to cover something a little bit interesting today. If you guys have watched my past videos, this will be a little bit different, guys. This is going to be based on real NASCAR, and I've come up with 5 different playoff formats that I think could possibly work going forward into the 2025 NASCAR season and beyond. Tag NASCAR down below. Let them know that we need to get some fresh blood in here. This is kind of bullshit, the way that we've had a guy like Joey Logano win the championship in 2024. I like Joey Logano. He played his cards right, to be honest. But guys, it's pretty obvious to us that Joey Logano wasn't the people's champ this year. I would say it was probably Kyle Larson. So with that being said, guys, let's get into 5 different NASCAR playoff formats that I think could be better than the one right now.
I'm talking Las Vegas. It doesn't get any better.
All right, guys, so we are here on Twitter, the most beautiful, non-controversial website ever. And let's get right into it. So Denny Hamlin has said that he has a new format that he thinks is going to work for NASCAR in 2025. And that's going to be pretty simple, guys. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I just saw this after making my 5, and it kind of looks like a couple of the formats that I'm going to show you guys in just a second here. But this has kind of stirred some controversy because Denny Hamlin, through Dirty Mo Media, tweets this out. He says, "We want to double the regular season points. You got 7 races to make the championship 4. So you get 16 drivers. So it's basically the last 10 races is the playoffs still. The first 7 races of the playoffs, the top 16 drivers have a chance to make that top 4. Then, when the top 4 advance, reset them, go to 0. And now you got 3 races to go for the championship. So that basically means that you don't necessarily have to win Phoenix or maybe Homestead if they do my home track. You don't necessarily have to do that in order to win the championship. I think it's very important that if you do well at crunch time in the season, you don't necessarily have to go for broke at Phoenix. It doesn't really make sense because then it just gives whoever's the best at Phoenix the best chance to succeed, which is kind of stupid. So Larry McReynolds comes in here and basically is talking shit to Denny Hamlin. He says, "So just what we need again. Our champion could go through an entire 10-race playoff, not win a race, might not need to, and at the final race, back possibly to where for one driver headed into the race, a clinch scenario. Now this would be nail-biting and exciting. Hashtag unbelievable." So it reeks of sarcasm. He gets community noted down here, saying Matt Crafton won the 2019 Truck Series championship without a single win under the current points format. So Larry McReynolds, TBH, not really making too much sense. But then Denny Hamlin goes and kind of wipes the floor with him, ratios him with 4.6 thousand likes to his, how many? 686 likes. Ratios him, says, "Hey Larry, I know facts are hard to comprehend, but we actually had a champion crowned in trucks by a driver who didn't win at all during the season under this format. Hashtag believe it." So what were you saying about winning again? And then he says, "Oh, by the way, if you could stop spreading disinformation to your listeners about our lawsuit, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks." So Denny Hamlin ratios him. A little bit of NASCAR Twitter drama just to go over. 400,000 impressions. But this video is not about that. This video is about 5 different playoff formats that could be possibly better than the one that we just saw with Denny Hamlin. So with that being said, guys, I want to get into it. All right, guys. So format number 1 that we're going to get into is a little bit of a single elimination, guys. So to be honest, I've been thinking of this format for a long time, guys. And basically the way it kind of works is like the NCAA tournament, okay? I thought about this maybe 6 months ago, and I was thinking, damn. But now it's kind of a perfect time because Joey Logano comes in here and basically screws up the whole format system. So let's get into the first one, right? Single elimination, guys. All right, so 26 race regular season is what we're going to do. The first seed matches up at the beginning of the playoffs with the 16th seed, okay? The first seed gets 15 points as an advantage to the 16th seed, okay? 3 races per round. So if the first seed beats the 16th seed in terms of points, he advances to the next round, the round of 8. If the 8th seed beats the 9th seed, he advances and meets the winner of number 1 and number 16, okay? So you have 3 races to settle that. If you look at the bottom right, the tiebreaker goes to the higher seed. So if number 1 and number 16 are tied at the end of 3 races, the tiebreaker goes to number 1. So the advantages of getting the higher seed in the regular season are A, you get a tiebreaker, and B, you get, if you look at the left-hand side, you get plus 15 points for P1, plus 14 points for P2, plus 13 points for P3, and those reset for the rounds of 16 and the round of 8. Okay? So, like I said, the seed number 16 will have 0 bonus points. Seed number 15 will have 1 bonus point. Seed number 14 will have 2, all the way up to P1, right? So let's say you get on that first little bracket there, P9 advances and P1 advances. Well, P1 is going to reset, going to have those 15 extra, and the P9 will carry their 7 extra points in there for being P9. So the wins do not advance you to the next round. It's basically on points, just on points, okay? So if you win, that doesn't mean that the other guy can't go ahead, that you're going to knock out the other guy. That's not how it goes. Although it could be interesting that the first winner in one of these brackets could knock out the other guy. Hey, that's a possibility, guys. And just to let you know, I'm not saying this is going to be the solution to this problem. This is just for fun, okay? But honestly, this could work, okay? So what this creates is, for the round of 16, for those 3 races, you have 8 on-track battles to keep track of on the track. Okay, so let's say we start at Talladega. All right, we have 8 pairs of drivers that are going to be battling for it. So it might be a little bit complicated, but you could have a little graphic that tracks the 8 pairs. Then in the round of 8, you now have 4 battles to keep track of, right? So you have 3 rounds, right? Then you have the final 4, and those are another 3 races. And then for the last race, you have a championship 2. So basically, it's a single elimination, 3 races per round, driver versus driver, similar to kind of how the regular season thing going on next year is going to be. And that's kind of how it goes. All right, a little bit complicated, but it could be fun. Do I really recommend this? Absolutely not. Could we do this in maybe like a league setting online? I think we could do that. All right, number 2 is going to be like an alternate of what I just said. So instead of there being 3 rounds, we're going to make it, 4 rounds, where we had the round of 8, round of 16, round of 4, and then the championship 2. What we're going to do is we're going to make this just 3 rounds. So now you have 4 races per round. And the final round is going to be 2 races. The final round will be consistent of the final 4. Okay? So it's the same way where P1 gets those extra 15 points, P2 gets 14, P3 gets 13. Wins do not advance you to the next round. Okay? But I would be open to suggestions. Maybe it does. I don't know. Like I said, you have 8 on-track battles for the round of 16 that we can keep track of for 4 races. Then for the next 4 races, it'll be the round of 8, and you have those 4 on-track battles. Then for the last 2 races, it'll be the championship 4. They all start on a level playing field, and you got 2 races to decide who's your champion. This could be exciting, TBH. Now, this is a total of 10 races. So, pretty interesting scenario that could come into play. Now, let's get into number 3 out of 5. This is where we start to get a little bit crazy, a little bit weird with what's going on, but this is kind of how I like it. And then I'm gonna give you guys a bonus after the 5. I'm gonna give you what I really think it should be, which is gonna be a little bit different than what you've seen first. So, number 3, let's get into it. All right, So I call this format number 3 the 16 lit method, okay? The lit method. Now, 16 races in the playoffs, okay? Look at the list on the left-hand side of the screen, okay? So it's a 16 race playoff. All right? So that means you have 20 races in the regular season. And in those 20 races in the regular season, you got to get as many points as possible because you get an advantage when the playoff starts with 16 races to go. 16th, they reset the points. 16th starts with 2,000 points, and each subsequent driver has 3 more points. Now, one driver is eliminated each race. So starting at 16th, in the first race of the playoffs, one driver will be eliminated. If the driver that is eliminated, that is at the bottom, wins the race, he is locked into that next race. So you'll have 16 drivers. The next race, you get another elimination. The next race, you get another elimination. The next race, you get another elimination. All the way down to when you have the final 4 races. Then we reset the points. When we reset the points, you'll have 4 final races for the championship 4 to battle this thing out. You have 4 races for the championship 4 to battle it out. And the person that gets in first place throughout these first 12 weeks of the playoffs starts with 3,015 points, which is 15 extra. Second place starts with 3,010. Third place starts with 3,005, and fourth place at the baseline of 3,000. So if you're able to make it through this whole elimination process, this gauntlet, you will now have 4 races where if you got first, you have the most points by a little bit, but it is an advantage. And then you got the final 4 races to settle a championship. So I call this the 16 lit method, where we basically are going to eliminate one driver per race, and it will basically get reset at the final 4. So two things, the round of 16 and the round of 4. Although you could say that it's the round of 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and then the final 4. Okay? So that is number 3. We got 2 more, and they kind of build up in intensity. All right? And then we'll go with my bonus, which is really what I think should happen. And it's, I would say, maybe a little bit similar to Denny Hamlin. So, number 4 of all these formats, we have group elimination. Okay? FIFA vibes. All right? Now, before you get confused, I'm going to explain this to you in an easy way. Okay? You have 13 race playoff. Okay? The round of 16 is 5 races. The round of 8 is 5 races. And the round of 4 is 3 races. So not a very even number, but 13 races is the magic number here. So you go through the regular season the same way as you do now. You're competing, right? You go through it. What this does is it rewards the person who finishes in the first place of the regular season massively. Okay? So what happens when the regular season is done? We make 4 groups of drivers. Group number 1 is the person that has the first place in points. He gets his 15 bonus points, as we talked about before, plus 5. Okay? And he is grouped, that person in first place, let's just call him Tyler Reddick, is grouped with driver number 14, driver number 15, and driver number 16. So the top 2 drivers out of group number 1 will advance to the next group. Okay? So this basically makes it that number 1 has a very easy time in the round of 16. If we look at group number 2, go to the right. That driver, the number 2 driver, has 14 points extra because he finishes second in the regular season. He now faces the 3 that are slightly higher in points. So it's a slightly harder group, and he has a little bit less of an advantage. Top 2 drivers in group 2 will advance to the round of 8. In group 3, we will see that you have the number 3 driver and the number 4 driver, and they'll face off against number 9 and number 10. The top 2 drivers in this group advance. This is going to be the second most competitive group. And then finally, you have the clusterfuck. Group number 4 is going to be driver number 5, driver number 6, driver number 7, and driver number 8. And those guys are going to be really, really tight. So the top 2 in each group, after 5 races, are going to advance. Now, the tiebreaker, again, goes to that higher seed. Okay? So first and second are designed to get the easier groups because they deserve it. So once we advance, once you get half that field eliminated because you have 2 guys advancing from each group, now we're going to set the round of 8. So you have 2 groups in the round of 8, okay? You have the first seed that's left, the second seed that's left, and the bottom 2, okay? So the top 2 and the bottom 2 in group 1. Then for group 2, you have all the middle ones. This is very similar to how they do it in the NCAA, okay? You get the top 2 versus the bottom 2, and then the 4 in the middle. Think of the NBA or something like that. Okay, so group 1 and group 2. The top 2 out of those races, the top 2 that come out of those 2 groups will come out into the final 4. So again, in the round of 8, you will have those bonus points to work with. And that's your reward for doing so well in the regular season. So once you get the 2 that come out of group 1 and group 2, now you have 4 people that make the final 4. But how do you order the final 4? Well, you take all the points that have been scored, not including the bonus points, just all that have been scored, okay, within those 10 races. Just stage points, race points, add them up. Number 1, who got the most in total of the points during the first 10 races, gets a 15-point bonus in the final 4. The person that got the second most points in those 10 races gets a 10-point bonus in the final 4, and so on. And then you got 3 races to decide that. So it makes an intensity that just keeps going up, but every race is important because every race is going to count towards that point reallocation in the final 4. Okay? So that's number 4. For number 5, we're going to go into kind of a similar one to the group thing, but I kind of think it's a little bit different, okay? So, number 5, let's do a little bit of an alternate off of number 4. So, this is going to be a 10-race playoff this time. We got the last 10 races are going to decide everything. So, just like we did the group stages last time, this is going to be even more intense. We're going to ratchet up the intensity even more. Except this round of 16 has got 6 races. Okay, so now we have a couple more races to decide each round. Okay, if we go back to number 4, let's do that. I want to see how many. We had 5 races each round. Okay, so for format number 5, we have 6 races in the first round. This time, it's the number 1 driver out of each group is the only one to advance. So there's going to be needing some tweaking into this whole thing. But basically what I did is the number 1 driver, the number 2 driver, and the number 3 driver get the biggest advantage. In group 1, the number 1 driver faces off against the 3 worst drivers in the playoffs. In group number 2, the second best driver faces off against the next 3 lowest. And then group 3, the next 3 lowest. So the group 1 is obviously going to be the hardest for the worst guys and the easiest for number 1. Group 2 is going to be a little bit easier for the lower guys. Group 3 is going to be a little bit easier. But Group 4 is, again, this is the clusterfuck where these guys are going to really have to go after it. And in those 6 races, you're going to have 1 guy that comes out of each group. Okay, so here's where it's a little bit different. We can do some changes in it. But the final 4 is going to be the number 1 remaining seed. So if the guy from Group 1, the number 1, makes it to the final 4, he will automatically be the number 1 seed in the final 4. If the guy out of Group 2 makes it, he will be the number 2 remaining seed. So, we might have to make this like, oh, how many points were scored, because now I can see that out of Group 4, if you make it into the actually, I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. So yeah, it's just the top remaining seeds. That's how it's going to be ordered. Okay. So if you make it out of Group 1, but you're number 16 in the playoff to come in, there's no better place you can be than number 4 in the final 4. So that's your reward for having a good regular season, is get that seeding up. There's no bullshit. because that seeding in the Final Four is going to be important. If you got number one, you're guaranteed that home field advantage number one in the Final Four races. Okay? Wins do not lock you in to the next round, and it rewards your high regular season finishing exponentially. Okay? It also rewards and forces you to have high performance in the round of 16 because only one driver is going to make it out of your group. Okay? So, that's format number 5. Now, if we really want to be honest, guys, let me tell you, for the format that I think would personally be a good transition from the current crazy playoff system that we have now, is going to be, without any further ado, this one. So this is going to be number 7 in this video, because you saw the Denny, you saw my 5. Now you're going to see the one I actually think. I was just being a little creative coming up with those 5, and I thought they were cool. Would they work in real life? I don't fucking know. Maybe we could try it one year. I don't advocate for that, but I would advocate for this one. Okay? So, it looks complicated at first, but it's really not. You get 20 races to decide your seed. You understand? 20 races. This makes the regular season important and intense. That's not, we have 26 races now. This makes each race worth a little bit more than what they're worth now. After those 20 races, we'll have 16 races remaining. All of these will be the playoffs. Okay? You have 2 rounds, the round of 16 and the round of 8. After the first 20 races, we will re-rack the field. We'll modestly reward the regular season performance, guys. So for each position above 16th place, you'll get 2 points. So 15 is going to be plus 2, 14 plus 4, all the way up to plus 30 for number 1. Then you have a round of 16 with 8 races. To make it, you got to be in the top 8. No ifs, ands, or buts. So the tiebreaker, again, is going to be based on your seed coming in. Your seed coming in will determine that. So if you make it into the cut line of the top 8, by the way, wins do not lock you in. Now you have the round of 8, which is based off of the top guys in the first through 8. In the round of 8, the guy in 8th place in points is going to be the guy who finished 8th in the round of 16 and so on. The guy in 8th is going to start the round of 8 with 0 points. You're going to add 1 for 7th. He has plus 1. You're going to add 1 for 6th. He has plus 2. You're going to add 1 for 5th. He has plus 3. Then you're going to add 2 for 4th. He has plus 5. Plus 2 for 3rd. He has plus 7. Plus 2 for 2nd. He has plus 9. And then plus 3 for number 1, who starts the round of 8 with plus 12. This creates 2 very intense, equally distant, equally long rounds. So the last 8 races will be your round of 8. And the guy who finishes first in the round of 16 gets those bonus points. And now you got 8 races to determine a champion. The champion could be determined with 2 races to go, or it could be determined on the last lap of Phoenix. You don't know, and that's what I think is kind of the beauty of it. Kind of a similar thing to Denny Hamlin, guys. So, if you guys like that video, we got a lot more to come here. In the offseason, we're going to be really getting things more to work on ZBC Racing. We got some NASCAR gaming stuff coming out. We got some compilations coming out to whet your guys' appetite for NASCAR content in the offseason. And when that new season starts, I'm going to be starting a ZBC podcast from this very studio, where each week we're going to cover NASCAR news and track the season as it goes along. While that's happening and we grow our audience, I'm going to get in the real race car and give you guys some in real life racing vlogs. That's just a little bit of what's to come here on ZBC Racing. So the best thing you could do, guys, to help me is to drop a subscribe. Please do it. I promise you guys won't be disappointed. With all that being said, guys, I appreciate you all for watching. Let me know what you thought of these little formats. And ciao for now.
I'm talking Las